So there was a panel discussion in Channel 14. Channel 14 is considered to be the channel that supports the government most inside of Israel. They are a mouthpiece for Benjamin Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, and Smotrich. They had a panel today during which they had a couple of people speaking. One of them was called Yoni Ben Menachem. Yoni Ben Menachem is an Israeli Orientalist who is an investigator as well, and he headed the Israeli Broadcasting Authority at one point. He is an expert in the Arab and Muslim world, and this man is monitoring everything that is happening in Syria. And despite the fact that the transition government is trying to avoid talking about any war or anything with Israel so that they can get the transition period over and done with before anything escalates, because they are in no position now to wage war against Israel. He's listening to everyone on the ground, and there have been many videos published about some of the fighters inside of Syria who were liberating the territories, talking about we're going to be in Jerusalem next, and Al-Aqsa. And these things worry Israel very much, and Israel likes to take precautionary measures, so to speak, and that's why they are illegally occupying certain parts of Syria. The momentum of this occupation has decreased in the past couple of days, but they are trying to use it as leverage to apply pressure on the coming government in Syria, the new transition government, to extract as much as possible from them. And they are heavily supported by that with the United States. Because when we talk about Israel, we're talking about the United States. So the fact that the Syrian National Army and HTS are being supported by Turkey and fighting the SDF that is backed by the United States, this is a confrontation between the Syrian people backed by the Turkish people against the American forces and the Israeli forces. Because Israel has a plan to have a deal with the Kurdish movements, to have a deadlock, to lock Syria from the south and from the northeastern part, so that they can have more of a say and have more of a pressure point on any upcoming Syrian government. And that's why it's important to thwart everything to do with the largest territories under SDF, so that they are under the Syrian people's control in a united government, and then focus on the threat coming from Israel. This man, the Orientalist Yoni Ben Menachem, he's saying, we didn't forget who these people are. Again, he's listening to what some of the fighters are saying on the ground. Their elements in Syria have been talking about liberating Jerusalem. And he's also warning from a threat in Jordan. Israel is increasingly worried about Jordan, the fact that Iran also smuggles weapons to the West Bank through Jordan. He's saying we should not stop attacking Syria. We have opportunities and we need to continue attacking. This man, Al-Julani, is the head of a terror organization. We need to eliminate him now and not wait until they attack us later. I mean, this is a statement that unfortunately is being stated by some people who are die-hard Assad supporters as well. So it's quite ironic that we have a terminology being used by Israel and by people who claim that they support the resistance when it comes to Syria. Both of them are delegitimizing the new government in Syria, and both of them want them to be taken down. So the question is, will they join forces or coordinate at one point? He also said Iran should be attacked now, before they become a nuclear weapon, before they have nuclear weapons and before Trump arrives, because Iran after nuclear weapons is not Iran before nuclear weapons. This is the line of thinking that's coming from Israel. This man is an advisor to Israeli officials, and it's important to know what they're thinking, and they're clearly seeing things that are coming ahead. And in the past couple of days, I've been telling you about a secret pact and a potential collaboration and link between Syria, Turkey, and Iran. Now, Israel is talking about that threat. Israel we've had an article in a website called Makor Rishon in Israel, saying that Turkey, Iran, and the jihadist organizations. Is Israel on the road to a third campaign? Israel may have entered the third phase of the war that is waging in the Middle East. Iran is in phase of ideological hijacking. Turkey is becoming a tangible and threatening adversary, and new players are becoming its neighbors to the north. So these people are worried from the situation, and they are indeed worried about the threat of more hostility coming from Turkey following previous statements from the Turkish president about an invasion to Israel. And Israel is indeed considering and taking precautionary measures when it comes to Syria in fear of this trilateral agreement that hasn't really been made public, but we heard indications of. And based on certain moves that are coming from Iran and from the new government in Syria and Turkey, well, Al-Julani himself said we wouldn't mind having strategic relationships with Iran so long as they don't interfere in the will of the Syrian people, because they used to criticize Iran heavily for supporting the Assad government previously. But now the situation is different, and the tone from Iran is different. They started to use different terminology when it comes to the Syrian people and the Syrian revolution. Even Hezbollah are saying we stand with the Syrian people. Everything is changing, and Israel is seeing these changes. And that's why Israel is taking these measures in South Syria, because they know what's coming for them. Israel hasn't forgotten who these people are fighting them, and they know very well that they are not facing lovers of Zion when it comes to the new Syrian government, and of course Iran or Turkey too. This is something that is worrying them. And the tone from Iran is also indicating that we might be seeing a couple of things. So there were a couple of things that I want to share with you from Iran. Number one, a statement coming from the supreme leader of Iran. The supreme leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, is saying that what happened in Syria was a result of a US-Israeli plot. So the supreme leader still has the traditional approach, so to speak, when it comes to Syria, unlike, well, more officials from Iran and the Iranian media as well. However, he also said that the reports are wrong about the resistance becoming weaker. In his speech, he said that by God's grace, the scope of the resistance will encompass the entire region more than ever. So what does that mean? If we would consider this, or if some people consider this as a loss for Iran, although Iran could have actually taken action and they chose not to, why did they not choose to do anything in Syria? You might say, well, how comes the resistance is getting stronger? However, if there are things that haven't been made public yet, well, then of course the resistance front has become stronger. Why? Because you're talking about a Syria with a government that is representing the people, that is uniting the country, and that would be in a better position to become a part of the resistance fronts with unified people, not with a divided country with hundreds of thousands of refugees, millions of refugees, with total destruction, and with an authoritarian government. And this is something that the Iranian foreign minister also mentioned. The Iranian foreign minister, he had a couple of statements during which he stated that we need to mobilize. The foreign minister in Iran, he's talking about mobilization. Mobilization for what exactly? Mobilization against Israel. This is what he's talking about. So there was a report was in Tasnim News quoting the Syrian foreign minister. And he stated that mobilization of regional countries is essential and it needs to be done immediately. The immediate and effective mobilization of regional countries and their unity is essential to stop Israeli aggression and the destruction in Syria. And during his speech, he said that Israel is occupying territories inside of Syria, and they are a very large threat. They're a very big threat to Syria, and we need to unite to confront them. So more and more indications about this cooperation coming, the need to mobilize. They're clearly seeing what's coming. Israel is trying to be one step ahead of everyone when it comes to their occupation of Syrian territories, expanding further than the Golan Heights, because the Golan Heights is an occupied Syrian territory that has been occupied since 1967. And in 1974, there was an official agreement between Syria and Israel about the Golan Heights and the buffer zone. But now Israel is occupying the buffer zone and is occupying other parts of southern Syria, albeit at a lower momentum than what we have seen in previous days. Now, where are we looking to go with all of this, and how likely will things, escalate to a level where no one's expecting in the short term? Well, firstly, Syria needs to be united. The big challenge, like I said, is to have control over the biggest territories that are now under, in effect, U.S. control, because they are supporting the SDF in the northeastern part of Syria. Once they get rid of that threat, they would need to have everything starting to be rebuilt, having an official status, and recognized globally, and then we can talk about any preparations. Now, does that mean Israel in the meantime will stop posing a threat? No, Israel is likely to continue to pose a threat, but that's why both the Syrian National Army, HTS, the new transition government, backed by Turkey, are looking to get this over and done with very quickly. They are looking to get the situation sorted when it comes to the SDF-controlled areas, so that they would be in a position to support, Turkey would be in a position to support Syria. And the statements that are coming from Turkey is we're it's a fraternal relationship between us and Syria. It's like we are one now, and we will help them with everything, diplomatically, economically, politically, and militarily. All of that is indicating that we're looking to reach something at a level of a defense pact that could happen between Turkey and Syria. And a defense pact between Turkey and Syria is something that would be big trouble for the United States and for Israel. Why? Because Syria would be at liberty from any ties that Turkey has with NATO, and no one is entitled to talk about Turkey's involvement with other countries and their support for these countries. So they can be supporting Syria with whatever they need, like they have supported them heavily when it comes to weapons and when it comes to training. They can support them now in a far larger scale. We already saw from over a week ago, or just under a week, Turkish tanks coming in, potentially anti-air defense systems, and some reports of missiles too from the borders going into Syrian territory. That means Turkey is already bolstering Syria without having any agreement. Now, if they are doing this now, imagine what they would do when it comes to having an official position when it comes to Syria, and Syria becoming a full partner of Turkey, officially controlling all Syrian territories. So the situation is developing extremely fast, and it doesn't look like the United States is able to stop this move coming from the transition government forces of Syria and Turkey in the east. Although they warned them and although they tried to intimidate them, that's clearly not working. The transition government in Syria and backed by Turkey, they have a plan. They have a plan to unite Syria, and no one's going to stop them. And they are proving this with their actions. Deir ez-Zor, and now they're targeting Al-Raqqa too, to take control of them, again with divisions from within the SDF, because they are saying that Bashar al-Assad's regime fell now, so we have an option to be in one country with institutions, with law. So the big question is, will the United States take more aggressive positions and more aggressive stances when it comes to this movement and this liberation that is happening in East Syria? Clearly, if they haven't taken any significant measures so far, when now over 30% of previous SDF-controlled territories have been liberated, and judging by how quickly HTS liberated Syrian territories, they might have the same thing when it comes to SDF. So although SDF had or obtained several of the weapons from the Assad government, Assad army before, Turkey had an eye on that, and they targeted them because they didn't want them to have anything, any leverage or any advantage when it comes to weapons in targeting the new transition government that is backed by Turkey. So the situation is very, very intense. It is rapidly moving fast, and the next few days will show if this progress continues towards East Syria. Following that, you can have a situation where that's it. You already have a transition government. They're talking about elections in March. Things are moving very fast. And then you can be seeing a united and stable Syria that is able to make decisions with whichever country that it likes and thwart all of the threats coming on it, both from the United States and from Israel.